What's up, everyone? It's Books and Looks TV. Today, I'm going to be talking about a conversation that has been going on online about cultural appropriation versus cultural appreciation. And the example for today is going to be the artist known as Sailor, who's better known as the Asian SZA. So, when an artist rises quickly, blending cultures and sounds, the conversation is never simple. Sailor happens to be a Vietnamese American singer and songwriter. Many have accused her of cultural appropriation. Today, I want to discuss what she represents and why these conversations matter. To fully appreciate Sailor's identity, it's important to understand the broader history of Vietnamese immigration to the United States, especially the impact of United States policies following the Vietnam War and the realities of refugee settlement in places like Florida, where Sailor happens to be from. After the fall of Saigon in April 1975, the United States evacuated over 130,000 Vietnamese refugees and enacted the Indochina Migration and Refugee Assistance Act, also known as the IMRA, providing refugees with legal status, financial aid, and support services for resettlement. Churches, American families, and local organizations acted as sponsors, helping refugees acclimate and rebuild their lives. In Florida and the Gulf Coast, many Vietnamese refugees were placed in coastal communities with labor needs, especially in the seafood industry. Several seafood companies in the Florida Panhandle organized training programs to teach rudimentary English and American fishing methods to hundreds of refugees. However, this integration faced challenges. Many refugees had previously been independent boat owners and skilled fishermen in Vietnam and struggled with working under American captains who sometimes lacked sea experience. Cultural and linguistic misunderstandings, strained relations, and disputes emerged over resettlement funds intended for housing and basic needs. For example, in Texas and Louisiana, which also saw large numbers of Vietnamese fishermen settle, competition over fishing grounds led to significant tension and, in some instances, violence from local communities, including involvement from groups like the Ku Klux Klan.
Following the Vietnam War in the 1970s, several Vietnamese refugees were resettled in Texas. Some took up shrimp fishing along the coast. Fueled by xenophobia and racism, white fishermen in the area felt pressured by the new economic competition. Tensions came to a head in 1979 in a town named Seadrift, where a fight broke out between Vietnamese and white fishermen. One white man was shot and killed. That night, a Vietnamese home and several boats were burned. These events caught the attention of the Knights of the Ku Klux Klan, who then held rallies throughout the Galveston Bay area to intimidate Vietnamese fishermen. The Southern Poverty Law Center worked with the Vietnamese Fishermen Association to file a lawsuit against the KKK, arguing that they had violated their rights to business and property. A permanent injunction was issued prohibiting the KKK from harassing the Vietnamese fishermen and shutting down the Klan's training bases. The case was a milestone in the fight for civil rights, and shrimping season was the most peaceful it had been in years.
While direct statistics for Florida-specific fishing industry conflicts are harder to pinpoint, the challenges were widespread across the Gulf Coast. The history of both opportunity and difficulty illustrates the complex socioeconomic environment in which Vietnamese families like Sailor's settled. It reveals a community shaped by resilience, adaptation, and at times tension, providing a layered backdrop for understanding Sailor's hybrid Southern and Vietnamese American identity.
What's up, genius? I'm Sailor from Florida's finest. If you know, you know. Sailor. Okay, so my Finsta used to be Sailor Goon. And that's a play on Sailor Moon, of course. But also, okay, I'm Vietnamese, and a lot of my family, like, we're all immigrants. And so, like, when that mass exodus of, like, people from Vietnam came over to America, like, they're all sailors. Especially, like, within my family, I just have hella fishermen. That's how we started, like, here in America, I guess. And so, like, I feel like that, like, is a nod to my ancestors.
So Sailor is also known as Kayla Lee, and she grew up in Jacksonville, Florida, a city with a significant Black population and a rich mix of Southern and immigrant cultures. As a Vietnamese American artist, she blends ambient R&B with vulnerability and raw emotion. Her aesthetic, bleached brows, baggy streetwear, and its signature black grill reflects this blend of influences. However, early on, fans and media dubbed her the quote-unquote Asian SZA because of her vocal tone, emotional style, and genre blending. While this helps new listeners frame her sound, the label has drawbacks. It limits her originality, boxing her into being a version of someone else. It erases her Vietnamese, American, and Southern roots, flattening her identity. And it also risks diluting SZA's cultural significance, turning a deeply black artist's legacy into a generic sound to imitate. So while it's an easy shorthand, it's reductive for both women.
How does it make you feel when you do see or hear the conversations about your music and, people saying, oh, your music is cultural appropriation? I know you had a conversation with Fader a little bit about this, but how do you feel about those critiques? How do you take it?
I genuinely don't fault anybody for feeling the way they do, just because at the end of the day, I understand how sacred the space is and how important it is to protect it, because there are a lot of people that commit erasure, you know what I mean? And I'm not trying to do that at all. I genuinely just really love making music, and of course I want to be conscientious and I don't want to offend anybody, but also I can only move in the most authentic and genuine way that I possibly can. Now at the end of the day, I understand. I just understand. I'm not here to argue with people. I'm not here to convince you otherwise of who I am or over explain, because at the end of the day, I know what I stand for, and I know that at the end of the day, I get it. Mm-hmm. So I promise you, I'm not the one. You know what I mean? It's okay.
SZA has openly credited black artists like Lauryn Hill, Erykah Badu, and Frank Ocean as foundational influences. She says plainly, all music is black art, let's be real. More than paying lip service, she's actively collaborated with black artists, most notably Summer Walker, who joined her on the remix of Pookie's Requiem. This collaboration signals mutual respect and shows Sailor engaging beyond just aesthetic borrowing. Contributions to projects like producer Nuances' album Don't Grow Up Too Soon, released in 2024, where she's featured on multiple tracks like Run Me Back My Bread and Mango Scene. These collaborations complicate accusations that she's simply appropriating black culture. She's participating in the community, albeit as a newcomer. Growing up in Jacksonville, Sailor was exposed to Southern black culture, black music, and African American vernacular English. She blends these with her Vietnamese heritage, citing influences from both worlds. However, critics point to what's called, quote-unquote, bad proximity, being physically near black culture, but not fully engaged or accountable within it. This often leads to things like adopting black aesthetics without recognizing the cultural weight, benefiting from systems that reward non-black artists mimicking blackness, while black artists face systemic barriers. It's precisely in these nuanced spaces that opinions diverge. From my perspective, Sailor likely intends well, and her initial impression, whether through her unique sound or stylistic choices, might have aimed for shock value and a way to stand out in a crowded industry. Yet I also deeply understand how the phrase Pookie in her song and its usage by non-black artists resonated with many as a potential misuse of AAVE and an insensitivity to its deep roots in black American culture. It highlights the fine line between influence and appropriation, especially when terms integral to a marginalized community's dialect are widely adopted. This complexity is further explored when we look at one of Sailor's most prominent visual elements, her black grill. One of Sailor's most striking visual trademarks is her black grill, a choice that has sparked conversation and controversy. While grills are deeply rooted in black hip-hop culture, symbolizing status, rebellion, and identity, Sailor's use of the black grill also connects to an ancient Vietnamese tradition called Nham Rong Den, or teeth blackening. According to Vietnamese Canadian archivist Lenora Hune, this practice was much more than cosmetic. It was deeply spiritual, believed to protect against evil spirits. Women with pale skin and blackened teeth were seen as beautiful, feminine, and elegant. The ritual often marked a coming of age or indicated social status, as the liqueur dyes used, made from ingredients like ant wing nectar, Charcoal, beeswax, and betel nuts were costly and time-consuming to apply. Though this tradition began to wane in the 20th century, it still survives in some communities, mostly among older women. For Sailor, wearing a black grill is a deliberate way to pay homage to her family and cultural heritage. In an interview with Days, she shared that her paternal grandmother had black teeth, which she always found striking and beautiful, even when others didn't understand the custom. To Sailor, the black grill represents femininity, strength, and protection. It stands as a tribute to the women who endured hardships so she could live the life she has now. It also symbolizes her connection to both her Vietnamese roots and the Florida home she calls her own, allowing her to express her culture in a modern, personal way. This layered meaning complicates accusations of appropriation. Rather than simply borrowing an aesthetic from Black culture, Sailor's Black Grill embodies a fusion of traditions rooted in both her Vietnamese heritage and her experience in Southern Black culture, reflecting her complex intersectional identity. On platforms like TikTok and Instagram, Sailor's success illustrates how non-Black artists with proximity to Black culture often get more algorithmic boost than Black artists themselves. Her quote-unquote soft blackfishing is a subtle racial ambiguity, vocal styling, and aesthetic borrowing, making her more palatable to mainstream audiences. This phenomenon highlights inequities in music promotion and cultural consumption online. Studies on algorithmic bias in music have shown that algorithms can reinforce existing inequalities, often favoring established or dominant group artists, making it harder for artists from underrepresented groups to gain traction, and potentially skewing listener perceptions. Sailor is transparent about her inspirations and collaborations, indicating appreciation rather than theft. But appreciation requires ongoing accountability. It's best to amplify Black creators and communities beyond just giving credit and recognizing the systemic disparities in who gets rewarded for Black cultural production. So now I'm going to play some public opinion and then I'm going to conclude.
So let me explain the controversy that's around Pookie's Requiem by Sailor. So the word Pookie is derived from AAVE, African American Vernacular English. Now, a lot of artists and rappers from outside of our community, other singers, other rappers, whatever you want to call them, they use AAVE when it's only supposed to be exclusive to the community that created it. We see this a lot of times with artists that are not a part of the community that will use AAVE in order to boost their songs, boost the popularity, or make profit from it. It has nothing to do with her stealing her flow from SZA, if that's even what you want to call it. Even though she does sound similar to SZA, she's not SZA, and we know that. And I can hear SZA. I can hear a SZA song. Okay, but she's not SZA, so therefore she's not being recognized as SZA. So it's not really a big deal of how she's flowing on a track or how she sounds on a track. Real deeper underlying issue is the term Pookie. I'm not gonna hold you. And it's like, as Black people, we tell y'all this all the time. Do not use AAVE if you are not a part of the culture. If you don't understand the detriment that has to the African American community, let me tell you something. The reason why a lot of people across the diaspora, Africans, Jamaicans, Nigerians, the reason why they think that African Americans don't have culture is because our culture is excluded to us and everybody within the United States. When it shouldn't be that way. Our culture only should be excluded to us. But due to years and years and years of quote unquote sharing it with people outside of the community, it's become globalized and popularized so that anybody and everybody could talk like us, try to sing like us, try to dress like us, try to act like us. And for what? I don't know. Identity crisis, maybe. But what I'm saying is the real issue is not because she sounds like SZA. The main issue is because she's using AAVE and she's not a part of the community nor a part of the culture. And I agree, we should be gatekeeping our culture because, like I said, to everybody else on the outside of the diaspora, of the Black collective, African Americans are the only ones that get shitted on because we, quote unquote, don't have a culture. Even though those hoop earrings that your homegirl wearing, that's a part of the culture. You know, chicken, collard greens, macaroni and cheese, ham hocks, all that. That's a part of the motherfucking culture. But a lot of Black people across the diaspora will not see that as a part of African American culture due to the fact that our culture is forcibly I'm going to say it again, forcibly shared worldwide. So that's why we always say that we can never have anything. It's not because we want this, we want to rewrite history, we want to erase everybody else's history and culture. It's not that. It's the fact that throughout the years and throughout the centuries, throughout the decades, we have been forced to share what we eat, what we say, what we wear, everything else exclusively that's tailored to us. We had to share it with everybody outside of us. That's why the notion Black Americans don't have any culture comes from, because everybody else in America is jacking our culture in latent terms. So there you go. That's why people are upset. It's not because she's stealing SZA's flow. Sailor girl, if you're watching this is not because we think you stole SZA's flow. It's the fact that you're using African American vernacular English without being African American. Personally, the song is a bop. I think it's a cute song. I don't really have a problem with her using Pookie, but I know, like, the issues within our community about certain people using AAVE, and that's the only sense that it makes.
Sailor being influenced by SZA's songwriting technique has a lot of y'all acting real nasty and being flat out problematic. Like, what? First off, no, she does not vocally sound like SZA. And two, yes, her songwriting is influenced by SZA, but that's not a bad thing. Like, SZA's by far the most popular R&B artist out right now, and I'm surprised the song influenced by her songwriting techniques has not come out sooner. SZA said in the past that she uses freestyling as a vocal technique, which is why you hear a lot of unique rhythm patterns, a lot of jumping around that SZA uses. She has a very agile voice, so there's a lot of runs in there. And in Pookie's Requiem, you do hear a lot of those kind of rhythmic vocal patterns and a lot of jumps in the song that are similar to SZA's songwriting technique. And that's not Sailor being a SZA wannabe, that's Sailor being influenced by one element of SZA's artistry on one song, and executing it really well, mind you. You can also see a similar recent situation with Omar Apollo and Frank Ocean and some of the similarities in their songwriting techniques. Like, no one is going to deny that Frank Ocean is one of the most influential male songwriters in the last decade. He's influenced Omar, Ryan Beatty, Daniel Caesar, and many other artists. And while that influence was clearly there with Omar, when you give artists time to develop, he developed his own sound with songs like Tamagotchi, Done With You, and many other songs that do not sound anything like Frank Ocean. And even if they did, he's just influenced. And Sailor has a whole 5 songs on Apple Music, so she's still clearly developing her sound, figure out what works for her, what doesn't, things of that nature. She dropped a new song, Will You Lie? It sounds nothing like SZA, and it's such a great song. She's just a really good singer and a really strong songwriter. And the fact that Sailor was even able to execute one song with a similar songwriting technique to SZA is really impressive, because SZA clearly has a popular sound. She's incredibly popular, but there's no songs that have really broken out into the mainstream that sound like SZA. But to conclude this, there's no reason for y'all to be running a whole hate campaign against a new artist who has 5 songs on streaming. And instead of y'all using time and energy to run hate campaigns against non-black artists, why don't y'all take the time to uplift black artists like Savannah Ray, who makes incredible R&B music on here, or Flores Caudette, they make incredible music, or shoot, even Destin Conrad, who apparently will be featured on the Pookie's Requiem remix. But yes, SZA has influence on new artists the same way her R&B peers who came out in the 2010s, like Jhené Aiko, like Frank Ocean, like Party Next Door, Kehlani, and many other R&B artists have influence on newer artists. Y'all, let Sailor be, because she's clearly a good songwriter, and we always need more good songwriters in the R&B or pop or whatever, just music space in general.
R&B is really the only genre of music that we've been able to keep very black, that we've been able for the most part to gatekeep very hard, right? Like, white people have not co-opted it, have not made themselves the face of it. And I think the real reason for that is because R&B is kind of the crossroads between where blues and gospel meet. It's a love child, those two genres that are also very black. And I think because of that, it's a rare occasion. It's very difficult for a non-black person to replicate it, to make it the sound correctly, right? Because they can't grasp the little nuances that make it work. Listening to Pookie's Requiem by that girl Sailor, right, who's Asian. And mind you, the funny thing about it is that I kind of like the song. Like, I wanted to hate it at first because I was like, what is an Asian girl doing singing R&B? But eventually it kind of grew on me, whatever, right? But I will listen to it because I think that the production on it is well done, right? And I think that it has the idea. It's grasped the idea of what it is, right? And we all keep making jokes about her being SZA's daughter. But genuinely, to me, that song feels like she taught AI AAVE and then let AI listen to SZA's music for a week. And then was like, all right, spit out a song for me. And again, the song works production-wise, and also I think that she really nailed the formula of SZA's sound, right? Like she's hitting all of the marks of what a SZA song would sound like, right? Because in any other day, if I had my eyes closed and I was listening softly, that sounds like SZA to me, right? But when you listen hard, there's just something missing. It doesn't itch your brain. It doesn't scratch a little spot of your brain the way SZA's music does. It's because it really lacks the nuances and the small little details that SZA does correctly that really make her music shine. Like you copied and pasted the design to the T, but you left something out. Like it's just missing something. The whole thing when people were like, you can give somebody the recipe, but they can't copy the sauce. That's it. Like I think what's impressive about SZA's music is always that, especially because of the way that she sings, sometimes it's hard to understand and make out the words that she's saying. So her music always happens that it ages really well, right? Like the more you hear it, the more that you start to comprehend the lyrics, and you're like, holy fuck, right? And the more it starts to resonate with you. So every single time I hear it, I like it more. I feel it more. I'm more emotionally attached to it. Her song, the Pookie song, is having the opposite effect. The more I hear it, the more I'm like, something here's not right. Like, I don't know. Something about this just don't sound right to me. I was going to take this concept and this idea out of R&B and compare it to pop music. To me, it's the same exact thing as when Taylor Swift leans very heavily into pop and makes a catchy pop song versus Sabrina Carpenter making a catchy pop song. Like the formula seems really easy, right? It's just make a catchy song. How hard could it possibly be, right? Anybody can do it. It's the difference between lyrics like, and the haters are going to hate. The players are going to play, and I'm just going to shake it off. Versus, come right on me, I mean camaraderie. So you're not in my time zone, but you want to be. Where art thou? Why not upon me? See it in my mind, let's fulfill the prophecy. Do you see how those are both silly, little, fun, supposed to be fun, little, catchy songs? But one of the two of those is written a lot more smart. Like, one of the two of those is a more complicated, more intelligently written song. It's the same thing to me. It's like, yeah, you have the formula to make a good R&B song down. Like, you studied it and you've got the footnote, you have it. But it just lacks, like in the middle of it, it's just hollow. I listened to her new song too, and I don't know, to me, all of it sounds like an R&B version of Tate McRae, and what I've said about Tate McRae in the past, which is that it's, the production is good, the effort being put into it's good, the people who have made it have obviously studied the kind of the genre of music, right? So they are recreating it, hitting every single point, every single bullet point, they're hitting it. But at best, it sounds like a song that a fake artist on a TV show, like a parody of a song, would sound like. She looks and sounds like a parody of what an artist would look and sound like.
I'm sorry, but there's nothing that I hate more than stupid people. Like, I'm so sorry. You lot set the trajectory for my whole day sometimes, because I open up TikTok to enjoy myself, and I'm here looking at how all these single-digit IQ individuals with a nanomolecule of brain cells left in their head are somehow allowed to contribute to free speech and conversation. Like, I want the UN to retract that Declaration of Human Rights, because I'm sick of it. I'm tired. Like, you know Sailor, right? The one who sang the Hey Pookie song. People are saying that she's cultural appropriating. She stole SZA's sound. Low Sailor, you bitch. You'll never be the blueprint. Who's we, nigga? Who's we? Open up FL Studio, make a beat. Write a singular stanza. Do you know what a stanza is? Do you know what that word means? No. Again, no brain cells. Not a single one. You guys can't compute how difficult it is to actually make a song and get it to even go viral and to actually be good. Like, we had Astronaut in the Ocean. We had ABCDEFU. We had all these dumbass songs go viral. This one is actually good. And you guys are hating on it. Like, this is why we don't deserve nice things on this app. There's too many stupid people on here. I think there should be a quota for how many brain cells you have before you're allowed on this app. If I'm being honest. Because too many stupid people engaging with each other on here, enabling stupidity. And I fear it. As a smart person, as an educated person, I'm scared of y'all. Weird.
So I saw on Twitter how much hate Sailor's new album was getting. So I decided to go listen to it because I listened to that one song, Pookie Requiem, something like that. I listened to it at one point. So I was like, you know what? Let me see if it's bad. And y'all, it's good. Like, is it the best album of all time? No. Like, is it the best album of this year? No. But it's not a bad album. I saw that somebody was like, oh, y'all showing so much love to this album than Coco Jones' album. I don't really know nothing about that. I'm just saying her album, Coco Jones' album, is good. This album is good. They're both good. You know what I'm saying? So I don't think nobody's picking one or another. I just think it's an album that came out. People are listening to this new music. She already had a hit earlier this year, but not a hit. You know what I'm saying? It was a hit. She had a hit, so people are just curious. This is what happened with every new artist. But yeah, I'm pretty sure she'll be up there on the XXL freshman list. I mean, I don't know if they let singers go up there, but yeah, I feel like she'll be up there because she is a new artist. We need new artists. Every year there's a new artist. You know what I'm saying?
I really do think Sailor is a culture appropriator, just kind of a bit of a vulture. I don't.
Watch the whole video. I genuinely endorse it. I think Asians should be tracking this conversation very closely. No question is Sailor a cultural appropriator, but I'm trying to take the conversation a step further in the sense that a lot of people ask if people are cultural appropriating. If your stuff touches a different culture, you're cultural appropriating. That's never the question of is it happening. People have this sense that cultural appropriation means that the difference between the appropriation and the appreciation. No, it's appropriation, and appreciation is a subcategory of the experience of appropriation. Cultural appropriation is when the leveraging of a different culture is happening for profit. Usually that cannot happen from someone of that original culture. Now, that profit is usually referred to as capital. It can also be cultural capital or soft capital, aka popularity, social media, So like, wearing cheap house, whatever. You know what I mean? Like here is that this conversation is meant to boil down to not is she appropriating, it is she is appropriating. How vulture-y is she? How vulture-y does it feel to anybody individually, with massively more weight placed upon the opinions of the people that the culture is from. This conversation should play out the same for the very rampant appropriation of Asian cultural artifacts throughout the Western media landscape, right? Now, talking to my Asian creatives seeking to make a space for themselves in the Western media landscape, let's just talk about music. I'm a musician too, right? It is tempting to do what has been done before because we are raised in a bit of a prosperity cult on top of just, trying to survive under capitalism, right? So do what has been successful before is kind of an archetype that exists, which kind of just means either doing the white people music or doing black music. And I have empathy for the plight because we are raised in the West, influenced by both, and feel the sense that our own culture is not enough because of how our image is erased, how we are oppressed for it. We are specifically seen as perpetually foreign because of it. So there is this reaching for something that is undeniably American so that we can channel our own undeniable Americanness through it. That's why a lot of Asians develop a type of hyperlexia. Like, look at how I speak. Like, despite how many people might assume I don't know English before they talk to me, the second we start a conversation, it becomes clear not only do I know English, my English is better than yours, right? Not everybody has the privilege to accomplish that. Some of them take other cultural shorthands to communicate a similar concept of, hey, I am fucking American. And a lot of times that means biting AAVE. There's an interesting thing that happens there because, I don't know, like, can be a lot of non-critical thinking wrapped up in that. But I also, like, I don't know, I'll talk more about, like, so many Asians, they're just making straight up R&B with, like, no sauce, no additional, you're not going to put any sauce on it. Like, who are you? Where are you in this? Maybe you are, maybe the experience of you is that you are invisible and you've been erased. You know what I mean? And that's kind of tough. I do encourage a seeking of, like, when I make music, I try to blend my Chinese heritage, my Asian influences into my musical influences, which range from like folk to hip hop to electronic, etc. Honestly, I get that people can't do it like me. I'm kind of like nice at this. Palette is very rich. A lot of Asian Americans don't have the palette of their home culture because of like the social pressure to erase it.
Song Pookie's Requiem, like, I've been seeing people say like that they think it's problematic or that she sounds like, I don't hear SZA. I'm gonna be honest, like,
I disagree. I think that the song sounds just like SZA, okay? And my family has been in the industry for a very long time. And one of the most interesting jobs that there is in the industry is the person who gets to listen to all the songs to make sure that there are not any samples in it, that there aren't any obvious interpolations in it, right? The reason that job exists is because as humans, we rarely, if ever, create something completely unique, right? It's often based on things that we've seen and heard before. Sometimes when writers write music or producers create beats, they're not even realizing the fact that they're doing that. Like, they're not realizing that they're sampling, Rock With You or something like that, but it's in there. Do you guys remember how, freaking Scrubs, Candy and Tiny were able to sue Ed Sheeran for Shape of You? Most people, when they hear it, they don't hear Scrubs, but it's in there. When you hear that Pookie song, some people won't hear SZA, but it's absolutely in there. The reason why people might not literally be hearing SZA is because there's no specific song that we can pick out and say, well, it's that one. But if you have the ear for it, you can hear the artists that she's inspired by. Not to say that's problematic. I do disagree with the "it's problematic" thing that people are saying. It's not problematic in my opinion. I think that Black culture is music. It is entertainment. It is pop culture. So at this point, it's kind of gotten way too big and out of hand for us to, slap anybody in the face for taking our stuff at this point. But I think that people are connecting the artists to like what's going on in like K-pop and J-pop, where they're basically just like making Black culture their entire personality down to like the perms and mimicking the 4C hair. Yeah, she's not doing that. So I think that we could just leave her alone. But it's SZA, like to a T. Like when I first heard it, I thought it was SZA. I was like, why does SZA sound like that? It's SZA.
Record this video, and it's about Sailor, the artist, and her song Pookie's Requiem, however you say that. I love the song personally, but I see a lot of people don't like it, and I get why. I'm someone who studies cultural appropriation and appreciation, because in my liberation movements, I use a lot of art. I'm an artivist. So with that, I'm not just an artivist, but like, I didn't just see Black culture in this song or even in the video, to be honest. In the way the song is made, it was extremely inspired by SZA. I think most of us can see how obvious it was that she bit SZA's style. I don't look at it as in like she was appropriating SZA's style or culture, and I see why people think that, but I would also say that that's through a limited lens of, to be honest, trauma. Post-traumatic slavery syndrome is what is given for some people. I've seen some people talk about it with nuance and still feel like it's appropriation, and I 100% get why they feel like that, but some people just don't want to see nobody but Black doing Black shit. And I would say that they're reinforcing stereotypes, because not every Black person makes this. Not every Black person is a musical artist or rapper or a singer who sings R&B. Not every Black person even likes these genres. Most of us do. Like, these genres are liked by most of the world. Let's be for real. And that's something else that I want to point out. Black culture, we share this shit in our art a lot. But not even just being a Black person. I have Indigenous heritage as well in the Americas. I wouldn't exist. Me personally, I would not exist without the Indigenous and Black people who shared cultures, just for my lineage to exist.
Sailor represents a new generation of artists navigating multiple identities: Vietnamese American, Southern, alt R&B, while standing on a foundation built by Black art. The conversation around her spotlights larger questions about how cultural exchange happens in a globalized digital era. Who gets to borrow and who gets the profit? The importance of honoring, crediting, and uplifting marginalized communities. As listeners and creators, our role is to hold these spaces thoughtfully, celebrating artistry while demanding respect and equity. That's pretty much all I had to say about this topic. How do you think artists can honor their influences without appropriating? Let me know down below. Do you like the song? Do you dislike the song? Have you heard of Asian, SZA, or Sailor before? And thank you so much for listening to Books and Looks TV. I'll see y'all next time.